Hi, hi. Hello, hello. It's been a minute since I've done a live. I've been trying to not be on Instagram that much, but it seemed like a day. It seemed like a day to hop on here, so hello. I wanted to give a reading and check in with the charts. I know that people are feeling all kinds of ways. Here where I am in the so-called United States, the incorporation, there's been some big news today, and I'm sure you've heard. I think the last time I did a live was kind of around the moment of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and I felt like I wanted to pop on and just kind of talk about astrology in that moment, and I'm feeling this right now as well. So the first thing that I want to say is just to reiterate what I've been talking about recently in the Cancer season horoscopes. If you're subscribed to my newsletter, then I was writing about this as well. We've entered Cancer season. Happy solstice. The next couple of weeks, as the Earth moves through its orbital period, as we journey through the light of Cancer, Mercury is traversing the sign Cancer as well. Mercury enters Cancer actually on July 4th. The United States, in its incorporated state, is a Cancer, so born on the 4th of July. And Venus will move into Cancer at the end of Cancer season. The opposite sign of Cancer is Capricorn. Pluto is there currently. This is definitely transit a lot of astrologers have talked about for a long time, since this is a long transit which began in 2008. And this is actually the last year of Pluto transiting fully through Capricorn, and starting next year it will begin its ingress into Aquarius. And that'll take a couple of years of Pluto moving back and forth on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. Right now, currently, we also have Jupiter and Mars, as well as the dwarf planets Chiron and Eris, transiting Aries. Aries is square to Cancer and Capricorn. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, as the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, these personal placements, move through Cancer, they're in what's called a T-square configuration that's set off by the opposition to Pluto and these transiting placements in Aries. So I talked a lot about this in your horoscopes, and I wrote about this in the introduction to Cancer season, but this T-square between Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries describes the moment right now. And there's a lot that's going on right now, so I'm not going to try and get into all of it, but at least this moment currently today of the United States Supreme Court striking down Roe v. Wade, and what that's setting up for us over the next couple of months and years, this astrology describes it perfectly. So I'm just going to riff for a minute, okay? Capricorn as an energy, this is where Pluto is. Capricorn is representative of the state and the structures of control that the state exerts that are also rules, borders, boundaries. A militarized state, Capricorn is associated with the military and also with militarized weaponry. Militarized systems of governance as well. So if we're thinking outside of actual weaponry and thinking more in terms of punitive measures, incarceration state, and the potential punishments, for people who are seeking control over their bodies or things like this. Pluto as a planetary symbol is a transformational process that involves death. It's a death, dying, and rebirth symbol. And Pluto is named for Hades, right? The guardian of the underworld and the god of death. And wrapped up in this symbol are all of the emotional and psychological states that we confront when death and power are present. And in the human psyche, these emotional states have so much to do with control. And Pluto in Capricorn is, I think, a description of the ways that we are feeling the death force of control move through the state and move through state-sanctioned violence currently. This is the United States Pluto return. We are in it right now. I've talked about this a lot. Many astrologers are talking about this. And when a planet creates its return, it's both an ending and beginning of a cycle, and it's a reckoning. And so what has been built, what has been baked into the foundation of this country, needs to be examined, it needs to be exhumed, it needs to be purged, and it also needs to be transformed. So the incorporated United States is stolen land. The wealth of the United States and the wealth that has been poured into the largest military on earth is wealth that is extracted from Black and brown bodies, from this earth, from this land. And this is the legacy of the soil, right? And so what's happening now and what has been really emerging in the consciousness of our collective body, I'm saying our as an American citizen and as a person who is alive at this time on this soil, what's emerging in terms of collective consciousness for, I think, a lot of folks in the world, and certainly this has been conscious for many people for much longer than for those who are kind of coming into consciousness at the moment. But a lot of what's emerging into consciousness is this history, right? Is the complication of this history. And how do we enact actual democracy when the foundation of a democracy is built on such extreme inequality and extractive, devastating theft? It's impossible. How do we have bodily autonomy when there has never been bodily autonomy for so many bodies? And today's decision by the United States Supreme Court is not a surprise to a lot of people, right? We've all kind of known this is potential for a long time. Maybe it was surprising that it happened today, but in its essence, it's not a surprising decision. The response that is happening right now is a galvanizing response, and it is an organizing response. And what I'd like to do in this moment is kind of focus on that. And if we think about the kind of cardinal, if we think about the cardinal axis that's getting set up with the astrology currently and the opposition between Cancer and Capricorn, this opposition tells us a lot about the United States as a body, right? Cancer, Sun, Pluto, and Capricorn. The devastating and devolving energetics of the Cancer-Capricorn axis have to do with militarization and borders around a sense of fragility and insecurity. The United States and many other countries in the world right now that are experiencing this push for increased militarization on borders, this sense of what is ours, we need to protect it. The global elite or the protected classes feeling more and more insecure in what they think that they own. And this in turn creating increasing violence, increasing militarization, increased incarceration and police brutality, and also an increased effort to control bodies, resources, policy, etc. The T-square to the Aries transits and the Aries placements pushes energy into the bodies of individuals. Individuals right now are getting fired up, right? Aries is a fiery placement. Mars is in its fiery home as it transits through Aries. Jupiter is here, Chiron is here, and Eris is here. The fervor that is catalyzed by this decision will create momentum in a movement that has been gaining momentum for quite some time. And for everybody out there who today is feeling despondent and hopeless and depressed, I hope that I hope that you can feel that the grief and the outrage and the fear that you feel is grounded in really healthy anger. I hope that you can feel that the outrage and entitlement that you're sensing that pushes you to assert that you should have choice in your own body, or that people who birth should have choices in their own bodies. The outrage that you feel when you consider the big picture of how this policy will enact in multiple levels of relationship, multiple levels of freedom, will continue to bear down with the most brutality on the people who are already the most oppressed. That outrage is galvanizing. Okay, your anger right now is necessary. It's important. There has been so much complacency and willingness to go along with the status quo because it's comfortable enough. And part of what this country has been set up on, or set up with, right, is the myth of meritocracy and this feeling that, oh, you know, if I work really hard and if I do for myself, then I can pull myself up by whatever bootstraps and I can have this kind of success, blah, 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 blah. And we know, right, we all know through our personal experience that that kind of mindset and that kind of striving produces an incredible amount of stress hormones in the body, first and foremost, like the feeling of ambition and striving and I have to get what's me, mine, produces a huge amount of stress in the body. It doesn't serve healthy or well relationships. It doesn't help us to enjoy our lives and our birthrights of pleasure in our bodies. It doesn't help us to protect the environment and work in reciprocity with land and water and air and other living beings. These kinds of policies and how they're coming up and the ways that we might be tempted to think of them as episodic are part of a much larger system. And I hope that you can direct your anger in that direction right now, right? That your embodied autonomy is important. But your embodied autonomy does not exist without care for the land, without reparation for people who are descendants of those who were enslaved, without land back to indigenous communities. Like, your embodied autonomy does not exist separate from systems and policies that take care of everybody. And the amount of outrage that you feel right now is so important. It's so important. Over the next couple of weeks with Cancer season, this T-square is going to get set off a number of times. We're moving towards a new moon. The new moon perfects on the 28th. Sandwiched around the new moon, Mars is making some important aspects. Mars will sextile Saturn on the 26th, and it will square Pluto on July 1st. On July 4th, as I mentioned, Mercury will move into Cancer and Mars will move into Taurus. So over the course of the next couple of days, first of all, empower yourself in your anger. Don't let it debilitate you, and don't let it push you into a state of extreme stress and anxiety. Get ready for the next couple of years, okay? From now through 2024 and 2025, all of the outer planets are changing signs. The United States will have another total eclipse, total visible eclipse, this time more across the eastern part of the country in 2024. The eclipse in 2024 will be in the Virgo-Pisces axis. And this eclipse is stimulating points that were stimulated really importantly in the late 1960s. This is also an eclipse cycle that will set us up in a lot of ways because of when it's happening for a kind of foreseeable future in terms of policy and legislation in the United States. So over the next 2 years from now through 2024 and the 2024 elections, and as an aside, I just want to say I'm not precious about electoral politics, and I don't think that they're going to be our ultimate answer. But you know that there has been such a push to restrict voting access, especially for people of color, especially for folks who are in more democratic or progressive leaning areas. You know that there's been a huge push to restrict a lot of civil rights, a lot of social policies, etc. And so over the next 2 years, even though you're tired and even though it feels futile and hopeless, put the effort in, right? Like put the effort in to support your local politics, your local progressive politicians. What we can do in our nearby communities has more importance now than trying to control everything out there. So if you're worried about everything out there, pay attention to what's close by, right? Volunteer at your local family planning organization. Give money to groups who are fighting for policy in your area. Work with people who you align with, and together we are stronger. But don't allow your fear to put you into a place of inactivity and despondency. When we get to the full moon on July 13th, that full moon is in Capricorn, and it's aspecting mostly the outer planets. So the full moon will be in opposition to Mercury. We have Sun-Mercury superior conjunction coming up on the 16th, a couple of days later. This is a full moon that has a lot to say. A lot of people are wanting to make their voices heard. This is also a full moon, as I mentioned, that's an aspect to the outer planets. So it will be trine to Uranus and Taurus, and the North Node is there. It's sextile with Neptune. And just a couple of hours after the full moon perfects, the moon will make a conjunction with Pluto. Over the next couple of weeks, as you know, a lot of states are going to be trying to enact their own policies, but a lot of states are also going to be countering and resisting. Over the next couple of weeks, what we can all do in our own bodies and in our own families and communities is remember that one legislation change by the United States Supreme Court is not the end of the story. Okay, so this is the beginning of something, or maybe we're actually kind of close to the middle of something if we think about the last 6 years or so. But it's not the end. We're not at the end. And so like I said in the last live that I did months ago when Russia was invading Ukraine, there is a possibility right now in the collective consciousness to really shift and to move into what I would say is a more supportive stream for human consciousness as we move forward. And that more supportive stream has to do with coming together across difference and recognizing where our shared priorities are. And so right now, what you can do with your anger and what you can do with your fear is put it into action in ways that allow you to feel some tangible sense of being effective right now. You can get out there and raise $100 that you're going to send to the politicians who are going to fight for your rights, or the local organizing chapter of whatever the organizing body is that you want to support. You can talk to your children about what's happening. You can inform and educate them about how they can be participants in the world that they want to create. You can involve yourself in local politics. You can involve yourself in your communities, sharing information with the people around you, talking about organizing. We want to set our sights over the course of the next several years. This is not the end of something. We're in the middle of something. the United States is in a moment of transformation and change. Okay, so I've got the chart pulled up for the ruling of, for the birth of Roe v. Wade. So January 22nd, 1973 was when Roe v. Wade passed and was implemented, at least until now. And this chart has Mercury at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and this is where Pluto is currently transiting. This is the just next to the degree point of the United States Pluto return. It feels interesting right now to consider what happens when Pluto transits Mercury, which is a journey that we go on mentally. So if anyone out there has natal Mercury placement in late Capricorn, you might know something about this personally, or if you've ever experienced Pluto conjunct your Mercury at some point, you know something about this experience. Not everybody will get this transit in their life, but this is the transit that the decision of Roe v. Wade in 1973 is getting currently. So Mercury represents a thought process or a mind, an idea. In the chart for Roe v. Wade's decision, there's a stellium in Capricorn. Venus, the North Node, Jupiter, and Mercury are all working together in Capricorn. Over the last several years, Pluto has been transiting this stellium. So if we think of Roe v. Wade as its own body and as its own impact on the collective body, over the last couple of years, Pluto transiting this point has been doing the work that Pluto does, okay? And in the transformational work that Pluto does, like I talked about before, there's a purging, or there is necessary to reckon with something. So this policy was never perfect, okay? And in the ways that it has been challenged over the last several decades, it has become even less perfect. And we want to think about, in terms of a sense of transformative justice or collective care, what many of the policies that have been enacted in our government have also left out. This is an opportunity to come back stronger and to come back with more resilience and more of a coherent, inclusive strategy or solution. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it could happen in 2 to 3 or 4 years. So again, this is not the end. We're in the middle of something. The Roe v. Wade decision in 1973 is now getting its Chiron return. And so if any folks out there are about 50 years old, you are also having your Chiron return. The Chiron return is a moment when we are really at a crux in a healing journey. Okay, so when you learn about Chiron and its transits and its signatures within your own chart, healing journeys and healing crises come up a lot as descriptions. In the crisis that we're in right now, there is a lot that needs healing. Okay, so many issues are getting exacerbated with this decision. So many issues that have a lot to do with a lot of things that are not immediately related to whether or not someone is going to be born. These are issues that have to do with sustenance, survival, right to happiness, security and stability at home, ability to access resources of many kinds, not just abortion resources. There are a lot of decisions that need to go into whether or not someone's going to have a baby, right? That have everything to do with how they might feel their own capacity in that moment to care for that human, or how they feel the capacity of the collective to care for this human and to care for this life. So we're in a moment of healing crisis, and this is a healing journey. And when you feel the rage that you feel, and when you feel the outrage, look around for the threads and the connections and the interconnections, and look for where you can participate with part of a solution. I think that what a lot of us are grappling with is this sense of enormity and overwhelm with everything right now. It's like shit is falling apart. It's apocalyptic. These end days are intense. none of us can handle all of it, but each of us can handle one piece. Okay, so it's not your job to figure out the solution to everything. It's your job to figure out the solution to one piece, and whatever that piece is close by. Okay, it's local to you. It's someone you know. It's something you can affect. Don't let this moment put you into a state of inertia and inactivity where you feel like nothing you do will ever matter. Don't let this moment put you into a state of despondency. This is one moment. It's not a single episode, right? This is one moment that's totally connected with so many other things that are going on. And when we focus on the whole big picture, for me at least, when I focus on the whole big picture, it's so intensely overwhelming that there's not really anything for me to do but surrender to the absurdity of it. It's absurd. In that surrender and in that feeling of absurdity, what can I do in this moment? What in this moment makes sense to me to apply my energy towards? The T-square between Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries that's getting set off with this Cancer season is missing a piece. So in the cardinal square, we've got 4 signs: Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra. So Libra is the other part of this equation, and Libra, as you might know, is a sign of justice. It has a lot to do with the law. So there's a lot that's coming through right now in the realm of policy and legislation. Again, I want to repeat, this is not the end, this is the middle. In 2 years, when we get to the general election, there will be some important turning points. But right now, for those of us who are here, we're in primary periods, right? There are small elections that are happening in your community. Find out what they are. Who's running for school board? Who's running for, your town's treasurer or whatever? Like, find out these small positions and participate in them if you can, and if you have the energy. And if you don't have the energy to get involved in politics, I understand. I don't really have that energy either. But you know what? There are people who do have that energy, and there are people whose ideas align with yours and their values align with yours, and they need your support. So support them. There are ways that you can organize with your friends, right? With your communities. Libra wants us to come together where we can find spaces to come together. It doesn't mean you need to agree with everybody about everything. It doesn't mean you need to like everyone. It doesn't mean everybody needs to like you. There are places where you can find enough common agreements to work together to some extent to push for what you want. The level of anxiety and fear that's in the collective body right now is so deep. The Cancer Capricorn axis is a fundamental axis for all of us that brings us into body states, emotional states, and psychological states that have a lot to do with our experiences with parents and authorities, people who made rules, people who were taller than us, right? And so this feeling of being small and having external forces confine you, put rules on you, tell you what you're allowed to do, etc., is a place of extreme tension for anybody all of the time, or for a lot of people most of the time. And in the next couple of weeks over Cancer season, this feeling of tension and frustration, a need to differentiate and push against figures or governing bodies or ideas that feel like they are imposing rules upon you, will amplify. It's amplifying for everybody, whatever their beliefs are, whatever your beliefs are. And so this sensation of galvanizing and instigating and adrenalizing in the individual bodies is increasing for everyone. And that means fascists and terrorists, and that means progressives and peacemakers, but everybody is feeling fired up right now. The fiery nature of this time is deep, it's ancestral, and a lot of it is accessing parts of our unconscious nature that are tied into parental patterning and patterning around authority figures. Okay, so as you move through the next couple of weeks, notice what's emerging and what's arising for you when it comes to big feelings, old feelings, as they're manifesting presently. So if you're getting into a fight with your partner and the way that you feel towards them is the way that you felt when your mom did whatever she did, you know, what she always does and what she still does, it's like, pay attention to that. Because that kind of feeling right now is a little bit of a flag or kind of a call for your attention and for your work. And we want to draw upon Libra in its energy. Libra is the placement that's not getting provoked right now by a lot of planetary transits. On July 5th, we will get the first quarter square and the moon will be in Libra, and that will be an interesting day. I think it is the day after the July 4th day of mourning. I don't know what you want to call it. And I think that throughout Cancer season, you know, we're really working to bring our energy into balance and find ways to feel a sense of peace or feel a sense of harmony and equilibrium when and where we can. Notice for yourself what comes up for you that feels like it hooks in and ties into states of being where you have felt disempowered, or where you have felt competitive, or where you have felt not enough, or where you felt like you need to prove something. These states bring up some kind of resonance or recall with either your early family and parental experiences, your familial culture, right? And the ways that your family members might embody certain energetics. And certainly they're going to trigger the relationships that we have to the body of the state and government officials and things like that, who, you know, these are people who embody in many ways parental archetypes for the collective, because we look at them as the rule makers and we look at them as the people in power. We have power, right? And part of what we learn as we grow up and as we age is that we have our own agency. We don't have to make the same horrible decisions that we saw our parents making in the ways that we saw them making bad decisions. You know, we can adopt legacy and tradition that we feel is supportive and vital and sustaining for us. We can also say no to what we don't want. This is not the end. This is the middle. We're in a space right now of transformation. And when you feel triggered and when you feel anxious and when you feel, I don't know what you're feeling like, breathe, rest into your back body. Libra rules your kidneys. You might imagine a hand at your back, a friendly hand that you can rest into. Elicit whatever you can access that brings you into some proximity to peace in your own body, and that could just be a full breath. Focus on beauty and find the places where you can come together with other people, with other individuals, and where you can work together to unite around your shared interests, values, and priorities. This will be the most effective course of action that we can take over the next couple of years, is to come together. We have more strength together than we do alone. There are more people on this planet who want peace than who want war. There are more people on this planet who want to live their lives and just enjoy them than who want to run around like psychopaths trying to control everybody else. Unfortunately, those of us who just want to live our lives and enjoy them are not running around trying to control everybody else. And the psychopaths who want to control everybody are running around controlling people. So Come together. Find out what's happening in your local community. Find a way to become involved. And remember that this is not the end. This is the middle. Okay? And when we're in the middle of something, we got to be in the middle of it. And from the center and from the middle, all kinds of directions are possible. Okay, this is not the end. This is the middle. This is a really scary moment. And it has been terrifying for a long time. And there are a lot of people who have not had embodied autonomy anywhere, everywhere, forever. And if you happen to live in a body that you have felt somewhat protected and like you have agency up until now, and in this moment, if you're really starting to feel squeezed and pressed, then you are lucky, right, to be in this moment where you have felt a certain sense of agency up until now. Let your fury move you into action. Yeah? Find ways to come together with people who share your values and work together. This is not the end. This is the middle. I think that's what I had to say. I think that was what I had to say. I didn't come in with a plan for this today, but I felt like I wanted to give a hello. Please take care of yourself. Please reach out and take care of your friends and family that you don't even know who live in the 26 states where over the next couple of weeks their rights will continue to be taken away and imposed upon. If you happen to live in a more liberal, progressive space, reach out in support to the folks who are living in places where there are less options. If you live in a place where there are less options, reach out for support to your friends, to your community. Get involved with local efforts. 2 years until the general election in 2024, and there's a lot of work to do up until that time. And the work that we're doing is not only in the electoral politics realm, right? And that's one place where we can try to make some structural change and try to make some structural difference. And there are people who've been working so hard for so long on those structural differences. And if you're like me and you get really like kind of totally disassociated and overwhelmed when you encounter politics, because that's how it is for me. I have no interest in engaging myself with politics, but you know what? I've signed up to be a monthly donor to many of them. So if you have resources to share them. There are organizations in your community who are run by the people who have been the most affected by these draconian policies and legislation forever. They are the people to lead this movement. They need support. If you are one of those people, ask for support. Tell people how to find you. One thing that this is doing that I think we really want to keep in mind is this is pushing momentum. I said this already in this live, I'll say it again, and then I'm going to hop off. There's been so much centrism and complacency for so long. There have been so many people who are willing to just sit back and not do that much because they don't immediately feel it affecting their bodies. Abortion rights have been a huge galvanizing force for decades. There are a lot of people who are very invested in abortion rights who might not be invested in anti-racism or reparation or environmental policy or whatever, but they're invested in abortion rights. That contingent, that population is now getting really fired up. There's actually more possibility for progressive change right now today than there was yesterday. And we have more possibility right now today because more people are pissed off and they're willing to do something. So this is the time to put it into action, right? This is the time for individuals to work together towards their common goals. And if we take enough time to be with our common goals, actually we share so many priorities. There are a lot of things that we need to work out in terms of how we orient with our social locations and various privileges and the nitty-gritty work that we need to do to come into right relationship. But so many people have at least a general sense of agreement when it comes to certain priorities that have to do with sustainable future. Educate each other, talk to each other, share resources, get out there. Don't hide in a corner and try and dig yourself into a hole. We are in a volatile period of time. That volatility is amplifying right now. And any astrologer who tells you otherwise, who's like, oh, Cancer season's going to be cushy, you know, like time to cuddle. Get your cuddle on and everything, but this is a period of volatility. This is the next couple of years, y'all. They're not easy. Things are going to get worse before they get better. And this is the time that you've come for. You're alive right now. You have incarnated right now for these interesting times. You are a part of transformational energy and collective. You are a part of our earth rebirthing herself. Every decision you make feeds into the collective body. Your energy is part of the collective energy. If you shut down in fear and isolate yourself and feel trapped in inertia right now, that's fine, but don't stay there. Yeah, you will die for sure. And everybody you know is going to die. You will suffer for sure. Everybody who you know is going to suffer. You also will live a beautiful life. You will experience beauty. You will experience joy. You will experience vitality. And focus on that. Don't get hung up on the fear process, right? Put your energy towards what you want to see happen in this world. We are not at the end. We are in the middle. Okay? We are in the middle. Your Cancer season horoscopes are available for you now. If you would like to listen to them and, think about your feelings and your person and your relationships and things like that. On Sunday, I'm going to be offering a workshop from 11 to 1 Pacific time called Holding Space. And we are going to hold space for our feelings. It's so important right now to be doing self-soothing work. It is a really scary time. It is an infuriating time. And it's a time when it's really dangerous and volatile, and it's going to continue, okay? I'm not going to be here like trying to tell you otherwise. But when we can hold ourselves, when we can soothe ourselves, when we can take care of the inner landscape, we are less triggered in our energy. We're less attractive to bullshit, and we don't participate in it ourselves to the same extent, right? So breathe, hands on your body, soothe yourself. In any way that you can, extend love and care and compassion to other people, and get out there. This is not the end, it is the middle. Hope to see you on Sunday. You can register at embodiedastrology.com in the workshop section if you'd like to join. And your horoscopes are free or by donation, so you can tune in with them at any point. I'm sending everybody love. Really sending you so much love. This is a really scary time, and it's scary on multiple levels for multiple reasons. It's so much to hold. It is so much to hold. And so if you need to take the rest of the day and go curl up in a ball and cry and feel like you want to dissolve into the earth, do that. Take your time, care for yourself. But then tomorrow, reach out for a friend. And remember this, this Libran energy, right, that needs to get represented and brought in over the next couple of weeks. And this has to do with love, with appreciation, with beauty, with harmony, with pleasure. When we find ways to come together in manners that strengthen us and fortify us and give us vitality in life, right? Because we enjoy each other and we love each other and we remember what we love together, that helps us to fight these battles. That helps us to be resilient, and we are not at the end, we're in the middle. So I'm sending love to you all. Take care of each other. Bye for now.